KCAAradio.com.
KCAA.
All right, now, good. You back that up with me, man. Keep that little blanket there for me. I'm cold. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen, right here on the case for truth and justice with the right information to help improve the situation. I'll tell you, Empire Talks Back is brought to you by the Improve Association, where we are bringing business and community partnerships, creating those for the benefit of you and your future and your family. Our goal, our purpose is to get you to ask the question, seek the truth, think critically, improve, increase our quality of life while respecting each other and the planet we share. This is the Think Factory. I want you to think about it, folks. If God is in charge, as he really is, and I know he is, and you probably think he is, and if you don't, it doesn't really matter because he still is. Why does he allow the sinners to walk among the unstained? He's in charge. If the sinners are not supposed to be here, why doesn't he just kill them off, take them somewhere, and rid the earth of their contribution? I think it's because he thinks that temptation is part of your acknowledgement of your responsibility to make choices. I mean, I'm reading on the news today, hearing about these people in certain places. You know, I wear men's clothes because, you know, but if you're a man, you want to wear women's clothes, I have no problem with that. If you're a woman, you want to wear men's clothes, I have no problem with that. I have a problem with people's yielding to temptation and wanting to blame the temptation. You walk into someone's house, you see a beautiful piece of art, or you see a nice pie that's uncut, or you see the ring and the watch laying on the table. Do you take it just because you're tempted? Some people do. But we have a name for those people. We can't let a drag show go on. It's going to ruin the kids. Well, I don't know anybody that goes to a baseball game that doesn't like baseball. I don't know anybody that goes to a football game or goes to a movie, doesn't like movies, or go to a theater, doesn't like theater. I don't see people going to drag shows and grabbing their kids and taking them with them. I don't see that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. But I do see people who have projections about what you ever hear somebody say, well, if I were you, I would. Well, you're not me, you're you. And what you think I would do if I were you or you were me is what you would do if you were me. That ain't me, that's you. Temptation is what builds our character, folks. Opposition is what builds our strength. If everybody wanted the chicken leg, we got a problem. My grandmother, as great as she is in my memory, she would, my grandmother may cook 3 or 4 chickens because we had a big family. And she was such a wonderful person that when she walked into the backyard, she had a couple thousand, maybe a couple million chickens. I'm not sure. As a kid, it looked like that many. But it seemed like these chickens would just run from nowhere. Pick me, cook me today, do me. But she would always eat the chicken back. I said, grandmother, why do you eat the chicken back? She said, Butch, have you ever tasted the chicken back? I said, no. She said, I want to give you a little chicken back. Don't you tell nobody. Man, that's the sweetest meat. But there's only one chicken back on the chicken. If everybody wanted chicken back. Anyway, my whole point is that choices are things that are blessings that we get a chance to express ourselves with. How to make a choice. And there are good choices and bad choices. This is where our mentors, our parents, and this group of people that I just admire so much, the educators, people who have decided to take your and my children that we have spoiled, misused, misappropriated their brain direction because we love them. You know, we told them what's important. We tell them how great life is, and we hug them, and sometimes we misdirect them with what they should be doing. But then we send them off to school, and the teachers work with them, and if it's the ABCs and the 2 and the 3s, we're kind of cool, And then if the kid is prone to be so independent that he comes in and out when he wants to. The parent is safe and fine with that, but he's at school with 15, 20 other kids in a class. I know it's actually 35, but we got to work with that, and the teachers got to deal with that and teach them. And then they got people calling in and raising hell because the teacher said something to the kid, and the kid cried a little bit, and then the teacher hugged the kid to make him feel better, and now they're getting ready to fire the teacher. Inappropriately touching the kid. Listen, how our educators put up with the dumb stuff that society presses them to do and be concerned about while they're educating our kids and formulating our future for the planet. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And I'm here to salute them and hopefully expose some reasons that you may need to shut up your devilish criticism and increase your support for these people who are paving our highway of the future, working with our kids. So I have a young lady with us. We had her with us a couple of years ago, a year ago, but 18 months, something like that.
You have a good memory.
She said, I have a good memory. This is what teachers are great about. They say things that are not necessarily true, but that should be true, that are encouraging to you. She just said, I have a great memory. Kelly R. Neal. Kelly, when I spoke to you last year, you were enthused by teaching. You teach dance. You are a Fulbright designated awardee. That means, other people think you're smart, as well as, your mother. All of our mothers think we're smart, fathers too. But when we get outside sources that congratulate, acknowledge our goals and intent, and I read somewhere that, when you were born, you came out trying to teach the doctor how to do something. I don't know, but the teaching seems to have been something that's, and you went to Columbia.
Yes.
And your purpose at that time, announced purpose, and I know your vision was much wider than simply the thing you told us, was about, dancing and capturing some of the cultural dance things that they did. Tell us about that trip. Tell us why you really went. Tell us what you learned while you were there, and tell us what the future's going to be. And I know it's not as limited as dancing on your legs, but the mental dancing and all of the other things that you have been inspired to talk about and deal with. Share some of that with us.
Yes, and thank you for having me back. So in February of last year, I had the opportunity to travel to Colombia, South America, and my goal was to study dance and their vocational schools and the flexibility, because so many of our students want to learn a skill, even if it's auto shop or it's music technology. And if they're getting internships, we would like them to get high school credit for that time outside of the classroom. And Columbia had some schools set up like that. So I wanted the combination of the arts and the vocational. When I got there, I happened to be in a city where they did not have dance in the schools. So
Opportunity.
it was absolutely an opportunity because I love people so much and I love community so much. So I was able to study dance in the community, how it brings people together, how Columbia used dance to help restore their community after civil unrest. And this was right after the pandemic.
Really?
So it was a great opportunity to think about how I could use dance in the classroom to reconnect students, because we had so much time of being apart, having to even sit separately. I was eating lunch alone before I left. So that was a really exciting time.
How does that translate when you come back and you see that we are not separated so much by COVID, but by some of the cultural magnetisms and things of that sort that are pulling us apart as opposed to pulling us together? How does your experience in Colombia translate in terms of solution here?
Absolutely. A major thing that I noticed in Colombia was that when I would try to speak Spanish, everyone would encourage me and they could figure out what I was saying. And it was a little bit different than here. I feel like when my students were struggling to speak English here, that they were judged more harshly about not having perfect English. So I took that sensitivity back to not just my students, but to people in the community. And
Let me interrupt
yes,
you and
absolutely.
translate for some of my inner self here. You mean you went to a country where the major language was one other than the one you speak, and that as you attempted to speak it, people encouraged you and basically hugged yourself toward doing it right.
Absolutely.
Whereas here in America, when we hear people not speak English the way we want to hear it, we tend to make fun of them.
It's true. And
Okay,
it's all about,
I just wanted to be sure I was understanding that right. It doesn't make me super happy the way it is, but it makes me super happy in the sense that, wow, once we realize a problem, the solution seems to be right across the table. So how do you feel about dual language? How if dancing helps, would increasing a person's ability to speak another language also help understand other people and maybe open up the gates of let's do it together?
right, humanity and communication. The United States is one of the few countries where there's one major language. You can travel all over the world and people speak 2, 3, sometimes more languages. So,
Sometimes in the same household.
absolutely.
Isn't that something?
And it helps build empathy because you can understand, you can communicate. I love using Spanish at the store when I can or to help someone and give them some relief in an area they may be struggling in.
You teach dance.
Yes.
You charge money sometimes?
Yes.
Good for you. You know, because I find that every now and then I'll hear as I go through the internet that somebody's promoting a class that teaches people another language. And they're charging for that too. I've got a couple of granddaughters. And, you know, I don't have to pay for their classes because their mama got a good job. So to help her spend some of that money to maybe, you know, put me back in the level of, hey, Dad, maybe you help out. If your dance class also immersed people into a second language, I pay for that.
That's
just,
genius.
you
No,
know,
I love that.
If inspiration is something that goes in both directions, you know, you inspired me to look at a problem, and man, I think the solution to it is something that we probably all talked about before. As I speak with a very powerful person later on, that's in a position to make suggestions that, you know, people will tend to follow. The idea of second language, as we talk about it in school, always tends to be the second language is English. You got to learn how to speak English. Man, if we can get people to speak, I mean, it doesn't make sense to live in Southern California and not speak Spanish. I mean, if you want to know why, I'm going to ask you to go to your school, and I don't know if you were in Florida if they let you do this, but you could ask about the Hidalgo Treaty and find out what the real responsibility America said it would have to Mexico and people from Mexico here in Southern California as a result of turning this beautiful Southern California property over to the United States. Treaties, education, understanding. We make treaties every day. Our goal is to follow through, to be truthful, and things of that sort. But Miss Callie, to get back over to being inspired, you were not immersing people in second languages before you came in today. Hopefully you'll start doing that, and hopefully we can help you do that.
I love
what
that idea.
What are you doing now that other people can share and benefit from?
What's important to me now is equity through the arts. So a previous program that I worked on was helping Black students get on college track, and it was a great, successful program, but I did start missing the diversity. So when I built the dance program at the high school, it was an opportunity to get a variety of students to work together from a variety of cultures. And then with what I learned in Columbia, I saw how much people could connect through the arts. There's a little bit less pressure. I have an arts, a dance history class where we can talk about American dance, which is heavily influenced by Black dance, African
Can't do that
dance.
in Florida, but go ahead.
And I saw how we could connect people through the arts in a variety of ways. So I help school districts build out their arts programs, their dance programs, so that more students have the opportunity to participate in the arts.
One of the other concerns that I have as a person who's over 30, a couple of times, is the wisdom that our senior citizens go to bed with, as opposed to being able to pass on and share. Dance is another great opportunity to bring people together. I don't know if there's any, when we drop the kids off or bring them to dance class, usually, you know, the parent can go home. I don't know if your classes are the kind that say, parents, you can't be in the room. You guys need to be out of here so I can control and work with these kids. Maybe so, maybe not. But there's another opportunity to bring older people and younger people together, wisdom and energy. And I'm, you know, once again, make that kind of suggestion. You impressed me as our second guest, as somebody that once you realized who you were, part of what you wanted to do was make the world a better place, and that you've been working on it and doing that as long as you've been in charge. What's going on with your children? How are we pushing them to make the world a better place?
My sons,
Mm-hmm.
my students, yes.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you gave me the opportunity to gloat about my boys.
Most mothers are.
I have two great sons, and they're very entrepreneurial.
That's what I want to hear. Okay.
Yes. My 14-year-old is now getting into photography. I just dropped him off at a party last night. He doesn't want mom to stay there where he was doing photos. I know. I knew the adults. So, yes, he's very independent. He came to Columbia with me, so he really grew in independence.
Oh,
I'm
I'd
very
love to see
proud.
Did he take pictures while I was there? I'm sure he did.
We both took tons, yes. And my older son, Micah, is at CBU. He's a junior, and
Cal Baptist
University, and he's majoring in music production. So he is also very entrepreneurial. I always tell him he picked a broke boss, though, because he helps produce my podcast. And so I need to up his pay a little bit.
Well,
but he also
needs to up
helps
his distribution abilities so that you guys can have a basis for that. But that's
Yes.
good.
I'm proud of them.
Yeah, that's the type of thing that I would expect to hear. The young man who's doing the photography, I'd like to see what we might be able to do to share, you know, give him another poor boss. To No, the word poor is not right. Slow paying.
Yes.
In terms of cash.
Yes.
But in terms of return on information and inspiration and access to really doing something, that's top heavy. And we would be, if he were here today, I'd be able to introduce him to somebody who likes to have their photo taken. I mean, his staff loves to have his photo taken.
Mm-hmm.
I asked for a photo of our second guest, and they sent me about 4 different photos. And he looks great on all of them. But my point again As a teacher, as an educator, we find that you can do it in a classroom, but whether you're in a classroom or not, we're all educating each other every day, that we expose ourselves to other folk. I learn something every time I get on the freeway, or I have something reinforced every time I get on the freeway, and it's that I am not in charge. Despite being in charge, I'm not in charge. And if you don't know when to choose to let the world's movement, or acknowledge that the world's movement is not something you can control, but that you are participating in, that's part of your teaching. How do you help a person see the edges, the sides, or that they're on the edge, or that the decisions are really critical? How do you work with that in dance? I mean, I know you could do something wrong and break your ankle, but how do you do that?
I provide opportunities for other dancers to do something that maybe I could do myself, but why not give someone else who's still trying to find their way into dance education or just supporting themselves as an artist? You know, I've done contracts to bring dancers into my classroom so they can feel what it's like to teach younger people and inspire younger people and show them career opportunities that they didn't even know existed. And that's what my mentors did for me. That's what my teachers did for me. I had amazing teachers in high school, and we just need to keep pouring into young people and giving them the opportunities. I had teachers that didn't wait until I was the best dancer or the best singer in the classroom to give me an opportunity for the solo or to be in the dance. And it made me keep trying. It boosted my confidence and gave me opportunities that I would have never had because I didn't grow up dancing. My dad was in the military, so we were always moving around. So I really
Dancing from one house to the other.
Exactly.
The thing that I think is important in what you're saying there, or one of the things that I think is important in what you're saying, most people look for the expert as the demonstrator. I think sometimes to look at the failure may be just as inspiring as looking at the expert in terms of, as I look at the great Kobe Bryant, you know, at some point when Kobe wasn't great, that's when I like to see people shoot his free throw. I like to see people see him attempt his three-pointer when he can't even make the ball get to the basket. Because from there to where he ended up is practice. And that's your tenacity. That's your courage. I remember reading, the first time I read it, maybe not the first time it was said, but it was on the cover of a Thelonious Monk album cover, where he thanked the people who opposed him before he thanked the people who supported him. Because he said the people who opposed him really demonstrated his strength, made him demonstrate his strength more than the people who supported him did. So standing up to opposition is very critical. In dance, you stand up to the opposition of gravity. Good job. We look forward to being able to work with you in the future, find out more about what you're doing, and bring you here to encourage other people to do the great things that they can do.
I would love to do that. Thank you.
Callie R. Neal, we will put you to work, I promise. Thank you very much. Hey, let's take that break and come back and give a chance to introduce Mr. Mauricio Arellano.
KCAA.
Be ready for extreme heat in your area. On days when extreme heat is expected, take action to keep your home as cool as possible. Set your air conditioner to 78 degrees. If AC isn't available, close blinds and curtains on all windows and run fans counterclockwise. Or find your nearest cooling center. Transportation help may be available. Learn more at heatreadyca.com. Brought to you by the state of California.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
This is KCAA.
Back. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. God is great. I'm extremely grateful. I don't see that well sometimes. I don't hear that well sometimes. And everybody that expects me to show up on time knows that I don't always do that either. But I'm excited today because I'm getting a rebound. I have access to a person that I was able to kind of grow up with in a sense, and he's much younger than I am. But Mauricio was at Groove Time Records at a time when I started West Side Story newspaper. He was a young, excitable, and exciting young man, and he always had vision. He always had things that, were a little bit further along the line than, exactly where we are. I don't know when he decided to be in charge of San Bernardino Unified School District, but I'm sure he did it long before he got the job because he did everything necessary to earn the position and to be in a position to do a great job when he got the job. As superintendent of San Bernardino City Unified School District, Mauricio Arellano is here sharing with us today what he will do if indeed, and this is a stupid question, but a great question. San Bernardino School District has, amongst other things, a school that is dedicated to entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs, as you know, are people who fail to make money more times than they succeed in making money. And that's because when they fail, they use that for inspiration and fuel to go forward. If we expect to be successful at San Bernardino's entrepreneurial high school, at some point, we're going to have $1 million idea. And because it's a school, we're not just going to let that pass by. Mauricio, what are you going to do? What is the school district going to do? How are they going to figure out what to do when you guys come up with a couple of $1 million plan, or as one of the students creates a product or a system that the school has helped create, and you both got equity in it, and you got a couple of $1 million on the table? How are you going to work with that? And the reason I'm asking isn't looking for failure, but looking for success, because I'd like to partner with them and help them make a couple $1 million. I want to know, how are we going to work this thing out?
Well, first of all, good morning, Wallace. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here and to reconnect 25 years later from when we were lurking in the hallways of Groove Time Records. So thank you for being here, Wallace, having me here. Well, we're very excited to really tap into the creativity of our students. Many times we underestimate the brilliance that students come with and have. And many times students don't have the opportunity or the space to be vulnerable and to think about these great ideas. So a wonderful space like our entrepreneurship program is a great place for our kids to be creative, to think about what most people think is impossible, and let the young people believe and make it come true that it is possible. Man, if we get that opportunity where that one kid or group of kids or a class of kids come up with an idea that could change the world and bring in some funds with that, I think most importantly, the first thing we need to do is we need to recommit those funds into our community. Right. San Bernardino City is a huge city. It's a large city. There's a lot of energy, but at the same time, there's a lot of need. So if our students can contribute to not only changing something in the world, but also making a positive impact to the city of San Bernardino and to give back to that next generation of kids. That's what we would do with those millions, Wallace.
See, and that was a quiet choice, but a very loud choice. Your statement of sharing, your statement of obligation, your statement of responsibility back to the community was quietly stated. But I hear it loud and clear that we have the ability to do these things. Now, how we reach out, involve our private community, our business world, with our students, and how we set those incentives. Because to make that happen, we need some incentives. We need to have some way for businesses to understand that, wow, our schools, our community has tremendous resources. If our businesses are to share their resources, maybe we need to figure out a way how our institutions, the county, the school system, the city, can share their resources in a way that is intended to create more resources as opposed to intended to be a grant and a gift with no obligation except maybe paying some of the money back. Paying the community back as a theme may be a much more productive thing to do. And everybody that listens to my show knows that when I get you on the air, I try to get the fact that we've got God listening. I try to get you to obligate yourself to do something that is going to go beyond where we are. And I'm not going to ask you to obligate yourself here because I can see your quiet thinking. I can see that, and Maurice, I know things don't escape that iron trap you've got for a mind. Is that correct, Miss Kim? Miss Kim is his wife, and he probably doesn't forget too much of anything, and he probably pretends that he does because he's a gentleman. But the things that could be inspiring to our kids are going to come from other places. I note that you are having, as superintendent, a series of forums. I think tomorrow is the first one at San Gregorio High School. To what extent do these forums offer an opportunity for business people? I know that we're used to community people coming in and challenging, we know what's being taught and challenging the successes of those things, but to have people come in and offer solutions and proposals to do things that will expose the kids to learning experiences, possibly have an income potential for the school, but definitely have some type of positive gift to the community, socially redeeming aspects for the projects. Are they invited? Are we possibly looking at having special sessions for the business community? I know that I think there's some kind of diamond club that the county school district has, but what are your thoughts in that direction?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, Wallace. So let me touch base first on the forums. We do have 4 forums scheduled, and you can find those on our website, and our first one will be tomorrow at San Gregorio High School. And that is the community's opportunity, which could be parents, students, entrepreneurs, businesses, elected officials. Anyone is welcome to come. And really the purpose of the forums is to ask 3 questions. I need to know as the superintendent, the members of the Board of Education need to know as we build our multi-year vision for 2030. What's working that we need to keep doing? What needs polishing that we're doing already but needs a little improvement? And then what's missing? So those are the intentions of the forums, is to get authentic feedback, organic feedback from our community. Now, going back to your question about the entrepreneurs and business owners, this last decade, energy has been unleashed because people are starting to understand that we need that connection between the brilliance of our students at a school site and the community sector. And our community is starting to understand that they need to now pour resources, support entrepreneur opportunities, apprenticeship opportunities in the schools. And to the credit of former superintendents Del Marston and Doc Irvin, both of them committed resources, planning, and opportunities to try to build these connections between the business sector and our students. I've been blessed and honored to be now appointed as a board member to the San Bernardino County Workforce Development Board. And so that will be my opportunity to be able to sell to some of the folks that want to continue to build the economics within the county that we have brilliance at our schools that are going to have impact on our local economy. And if they invest time, energy, resources in our kids, I think together we can continue to grow the city. And I really believe this, Wallace. I believe that we have a synergy right now in the city of San Bernardino with Mayor Tran being a Cajon High School graduate, grew up in San Bernardino. Now you have a superintendent that grew up in San Bernardino. We know the history, we know the culture, we know the strengths, we know the challenges. I think we have a synergy to bring all these pieces together and really rebuild the city of San Bernardino and go back to when we were an all-American city.
That's right.
And we're a better city now because we have true diversity, so many thoughts and different ways of thinking, and beautiful people in the community like you had earlier on the show who want to bring a well-rounded experience to not only the kids but our community. So I think the time is ripe to bring those entrepreneurs and those community members together, and if they want to come to those forums, they are welcome to be there.
Sometimes it takes a design, an architect to kind of piece together so that, we're talking about windows, we're talking about hallways, we're talking about doors, we're talking about courtyards, and an architect to pull all of that together. We're talking about opportunity, we're talking about resources, we're talking about energy. We're talking about something that everybody needs. We're talking about cooperation and conflict at the same time. We're talking about the fact that I may be the largest oil company, but I know that oil is not going to be my future. I may pretend that I think otherwise, like Texas. Man, I'm not. I mean, I'm talking about Texas and Florida like. I don't know why, but I guess it's because I read the news. Okay, so I produce a lot of oil. California produces all the oil in the world. Another dumb question. Why do we produce all oil and gas here in California, but we buy it from other states? And what we produce, we send out. I heard we're sending oil almost to Saudi Arabia. It doesn't make sense to me. But maybe, and I don't want to ask that question at the forum, but somebody's got to answer those kind of questions once we get our politicians together. But here we are. Energy, students who want to learn. Workforce, people who are in businesses who know that we don't have enough people being educated into their systems. We've got this international airport. Can we fly people in from around the world to utilize create access to our students so our students can be at the forefront of energy information? There's so many things that I really hate that they killed them all downtown. Because while it was sitting there doing nothing and like now waiting for an idea of what to use, I thought it was a great education center potential. I thought that if there's going to be some things San Bernardino is famous for, maybe we should be an education center. Maybe our school district will go in a partnership with some of these colleges around here and create some extensions for them to be able to have their classes in the Inland Empire. Some of our empty buildings, if we're not going to use them for homeless, maybe we can use them for education centers. But the needs of the world are education. And if we can lead in that direction, and I'm just so encouraged by the fact that we have hometown people, and I'm not prejudiced in the fact that you got to live here to understand how to make it better, but if you lived here, you understand that it needs to be better, and you have an idea of where the points and positions and resources are to make it better. We have new people come in all the time and say, there's nothing going on. But all that does is prove that they don't know where the resources are to make things go on. If everything is perfect, well, you said something. You said your plan for 2030.
Yes, sir.
The governor has a plan for 2035 that says all state vehicles or all vehicles that are involved with municipalities and school districts and stuff should be emission free. They didn't say they all got to be electric, but they say emission free. Has anybody from the state approached the school district to have the students understand what does emission free mean? Has any curriculum writer come up with how we educate our kids and get them really involved in emission-free, and what does that mean, and how do they take that home and describe it to their parents and community and learn about it, so we're not just stuck with old people trying to figure out how to find a charging station, and that's going to be our solution.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Wallace. So what's nice about coming in the superintendency right now in San Bernardino is we have a 7-member board, and the makeup of the board is very dynamic. We have some very veteran board members such as Danny Tillman and Abigail Medina. We have some very new board members who are former educators, and we have a couple newer board members who are from the business sector, one of which who has a lot of experience in dealing with fleets and has had a lot of knowledge with EV, and that's Felicia Alexander. So to answer your question is, no, at this point, we haven't had any government agency that has come in to try to promote, teach, or even hear our opinions as to what a school district would need to move forward in reaching the governor's goal. Now, with the support of some of our elected officials who really support EV into the future, like Joe Baca Jr. and I know Eloise, we believe that we have the support to reach out and say, what kind of support can you provide us? So our first step in doing that is we did host an EV kind of event where we had different companies that came and showed their product. Now, many of them are at a very preliminary stage, Wallace, so preliminary that the cost of the EV fleet is still so much higher than the combustible type of fleet. So it would not be a good expenditure at this point because we owe it to the taxpayers to use the funds wisely. But I think, as you mentioned, is as we start to connect the state agencies and these different agencies and these different companies that are building new product and how can we make charging stations easier to build, if we start to have those conversations, those costs will start to drive down because those companies who are exploring will now have time and they'll want to meet where the economy is asking them to meet. So, paying something $120,000 for something that you can get for $60 right now doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a taxpayer's perspective. But I'm very confident in years with such a wise board, with a governor who has a goal, with the community really wanting to maintain the climate of California beautifully and healthy, so we have healthy living. I think that synergy is going to continue to build, and at some point we'll be to the point where we can have some serious conversations about meeting that goal of 2035.
Very good. If we're going to discuss this, and I beg to be part of that discussion, and you named 2 other individuals that I am extremely proud of, and proud to say I've enthusiastically participated in helping them get where they are, and hopefully to get further up the road for both of them. That's Assemblywoman Eloise Reyes and our Supervisor Joe Baca Jr. for the 5th District. Vision is critical, but being able to come together on that vision is even more critical. The politics of the world seem to try to push us apart. And when we start talking about things that are going to change the direction of the money, that causes a problem. So we really have to look at, well, whose money are we about to replace, so we can show them that we're not to replace. You just, instead of coming in from the left side, it's going to come in from the northeast side, but you're going to get your money, you just have to turn your cash register in that direction. If I've got all of the money and resources that oil companies have, there's no way in the world I wouldn't be out front with wind energy, with wave energy, with the kind of brain energy that we have access to. What kind of limitations do our public entities have in terms of actually, without competing with regular business, generating the monies necessary to make our lives a little bit better? I'm sorry, let's take that break. I put pressure on Eric to hit our brakes and then took my earphones off.
KCAA.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
Extreme heat can make you very sick and can be deadly. For Californians 65 and over, it's important to have a plan. Ask your healthcare provider if your medications affect your ability to cool down. Know the signs of heat illness and stroke, as well as the location of your nearest cooling center or air-conditioned space. And if you have loved ones over 65, be sure to check in on them on hot days. Learn how to stay safer from extreme heat at heatreadyca.com. Brought to you by the state of California.
This is KCAA.
Mo Lewis. Mo is an individual from the Inland Empire. Keep that up. Yeah, ooh, that sounds good. He's number 2 on the Billboard Smooth Jazz charts. What's critical and important about that is on November 18th here in the city of San Bernardino at the Knights of Columbus Garden Arena, Mo Lewis will be performing at the first San Bernardino Route 66 Jazz Soiree. It's not free, but you'll be free when you get there and enjoy that great show, and we'll talk to you more about the program and the show. You can read about it in West Side Story. You'll hear more about it here on Empire Talks Back. Get a chance to speak to Mo Lewis and the great artist who will be adding to and completing that marvelous show on November 18th. I look forward to you guys buying tons and tons of tickets and coming out to the show and sharing all of some of the great food that you may bring with you, or some of the food that you buy while you're there. And certainly I cannot drink all of the great drinks that you'll offer me, but we'll give it a try. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. I want you guys to remember that it's really hot today, going to be hotter than that tomorrow, and hotter than that the day after, and your air conditioner is working overtime. That means you probably need the filter change. You probably just need normally your maintenance program would work. You know, the guy comes see you every 3 months, blah, blah, blah. But man, you've had over 100 degrees, I don't know, 20, 30 times this summer already. You better give Mr. Gamble a call. Gamble Cooling and Heating International, 909-489-6592. That's 909-489-6592. Some of you guys heard that very clear because your air conditioner's not working. The humming wasn't there. You could hear that so clear, you're probably calling him now. But some of you who had little interruptions because your conditioner went on and off, and that number again, 909-489-6592. Everybody's not like Grover Wimberly, whose air conditioner works perfectly all the time. So if your thing's not working, give Al Gamble a call, 909-489-6592. Yeah, I did you like that, Grover. That's the way it is. God bless you. We have Mauricio, I don't remember the last thing I asked you, so that means you got a free 30 seconds or 5 minutes here to tell us some more important things about your goals as the supervisor of San Bernardino City Unified School District, and how we are going to get our private industry people to step up and understand that this is their school district. These are their super future employees, and that they have as much opportunity to train them now as they would have after hiring them 5-10 years from now. Matter of fact, a better opportunity to orient them now than they would later on. What opportunities does private business have to come knock on your door and say, hey, I'd like to offer some kind of work exposure to your kids? How do we do that? And I heard you say you're on the Workforce Development Board now, so not only is that an opportunity, it tends to be a little responsibility.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Wallace. So really, this all begins with providing a positive and effective learning experience with our students starting from preschool. So as incoming superintendent, my goal is to work with our community, with everyone within our organization, to really get our focus back on academics. Coming out of the COVID era, we appropriately spent a lot of time, a lot of resources on the social emotional health of our students who were coming out of very traumatic experiences. But now it's time that we need to really focus back on the academics so that we're not creating future trauma where we're not having our students prepared to go into the workforce or go on to higher institutions of learning once they leave our organization. So our first focus is to make sure that our academic and instructional programs are back up to par, and I'm very confident that we will get there. Second part is when students do enter junior high, now I'm saying junior high, not high school, is we're trying to expose students now as early as when they enter middle school to career and technical education opportunities and experiences, and having them understand what's in the world in front of them. Whether it's career, whether it's artistic jobs, whether it's engineering, whether it's math, whether it's teaching, we're trying to give those exposures early on. When they enter high school, that shouldn't be the first place where they understand what career technical opportunities should look like, be like, or what they have exposed to. So we're hoping to educate our students and our families as they go through elementary, middle school, so that when they get to high school, they're confident that they want to enter some level of career experience. Now, having said that, our folks at the district office are working really hard to create those connections between our high school programs and the community. And so we are building currently entrepreneurship opportunities, apprenticeship opportunities. We're bringing in guest speakers from the community. We're bringing in those opportunities where kids can learn and see what businesses really do and the impact that they have right here in our local economy. So we're going to continue to build those experiences and those opportunities. When you talk about entrepreneurship, Wallace, I mean, this is bringing in folks, like you mentioned, Grover Wimberly, who's been a person in our community, who's built businesses and can share that wisdom with our community and our kids, as well as big corporations like Amazon that are sitting in our backyard, who can also come in and say FedEx. So it's the whole gamut.
I want both of those guys to sponsor. That's why.
Oh, awesome. So, it's from those little, mom and pop ownership opportunities to the great big box stores. All of those opportunities are there for them to bring in their wisdom and start to teach our students the soft skills and the experiences they need so that when they leave 12th grade or even sooner, they can get a job junior, senior year, they can start working in our community, earning a livable wage, and be able to do something they're proud of, they feel good about themselves, and it further develops them as a prosperous citizen in our city.
We mentioned, you mentioned one, I mentioned the other, but there are two large distributing companies, Amazon, FedEx. Is there anything that the school district is doing to actually identify, name businesses and presidents of those businesses and bring them to the table and discuss their access to the school district? If not, let's do it. Let's work on it. Let me be part of your team. I can raise hell from here. Nobody will even know I'm associated, I promise. I want to thank you for coming in and sharing your time. This is the quickest hour on radio. I'm sorry about that, but I'm glad to. That means it's kind of interesting. So I appreciate you. Maurice Ariano. I only call him Mo, but that's not polite. Ariano.
Yes,
and
sir.
you should learn to speak the names of people the way they want them spoken. So I apologize that I haven't done that. And my mother will get on my butt about it. And that's the way it is. I was raised that way. This is Empire Talks Back. Glad that you were with us today. Hope that we helped you learn something. Hope we inspired you to realize that you are in charge. God bless you with all types of talent. Don't hide them under that basket. That was an old song we used to sing in Sunday school. Don't hide it under a bushel basket. It's very meaningful, very, very important. Share. This is important. This is Empire Talks Back. See you guys next week under two circumstances. One, the good Lord's willing. Two, if the creek don't rise. God bless you.
KCAA Loma Linda. The Legacy KCAA 1050 AM and